A substantial part of our daily lives, estimated to be around 70%, is spent grappling with various forms of stress. This constant state of stress essentially puts us in survival mode, a state not intended to be a permanent fixture in human physiology. Stress, in its many forms, disrupts the body's natural equilibrium, triggering a complex biological response aimed at restoring balance, known as homeostasis. Stress manifests in three primary forms. Physical stress encompasses bodily injuries and traumas, such as accidents or falls, which disrupt physical well being and require immediate attention for recovery. Chemical stress includes exposure to harmful substances like toxins, pollutants, or even adverse reactions to certain foods, which can have both immediate and long term impacts on health. Emotional stress, perhaps the most pervasive in modern society, arises from interpersonal challenges, work related pressures, financial difficulties, and other personal conflicts. This type of stress can stem from complex social interactions and personal expectations, making it particularly challenging to manage. These various stressors upset the delicate balance of the brain and body, compelling them to activate the survival response. While this response is crucial for short term adaptation and overcoming immediate threats, its long term activation is where the problems arise. In the short term, the survival response mobilizes energy, heightens alertness, and prepares the body to face imminent challenges, a process that is life saving in genuinely dangerous situations. However, when this response is prolonged, it starts to take a toll on the body. The constant state of alertness and heightened physiological activity becomes a burden rather than a benefit. Prolonged stress can lead to a range of health issues, including weakened immune function, heightened inflammation, increased risk of cardiovascular diseases, and mental health challenges like anxiety and depression. Furthermore, living in a chronic state of stress can significantly impair cognitive functions such as memory, concentration, and decision making. The body's resources, which are finite, are continuously redirected to deal with perceived threats, leaving less available for other important functions. This redirection not only affects physical health, but also impacts emotional well being and mental clarity. In addition, prolonged stress can adversely affect lifestyle behaviors. Under stress, individuals are more likely to engage in unhealthy habits such as poor dietary choices, physical inactivity, or substance abuse as coping mechanisms. These behaviors, in turn, create a vicious cycle, exacerbating the stress response and its negative impact on health. It is therefore essential to recognize the signs of prolonged stress and take proactive steps to management. This management might include lifestyle changes, stress reduction techniques like meditation or yoga, seeking social support or professional help in more severe cases. The goal is to break the cycle of chronic stress and restore the body and mind to a state of balance and wellness. When confronted with situations perceived as threatening or challenging, our body's autonomic nervous system, particularly the sympathetic nervous system, springs into action. This response mechanism, deeply ingrained in our biology, was highly advantageous in primitive times when physical dangers and immediate threats to survival were commonplace. In such scenarios, the activation of the sympathetic nervous system prepared the body for fight or flight, a necessary reaction for the survival of early humans. However, in the modern world, the triggers of this stress response have evolved significantly. Instead of physical dangers, we are now more often confronted with psychological stressors like job pressures, financial worries, relationship issues, and other personal conflicts. Despite the change in the nature of these threats, our biological response remains the same. The sympathetic nervous system reacts as if we were facing a life threatening situation, even though the stressors might be of a psychological nature. This constant state of alertness, while once beneficial for human survival, is now largely maladaptive in the context of contemporary life. It redirects the body's energy and resources away from processes that foster long term health and well being, such as critical thinking, problem solving, and emotional regulation, towards more immediate primal reactions. These reactions are designed for short term survival rather than long term health maintenance. The frequent activation of this stress response leads to a range of physical and emotional responses that can be detrimental over time. Physically, it may manifest as increased heart rate, heightened blood pressure, and the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These changes, while helpful in short bursts, can lead to health problems such as hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, and weakened immune systems when they occur too frequently or persist for too long. Emotionally, this constant state of alertness can lead to feelings of anxiety, irritability, and tension. It can also contribute to a range of mental health issues, including chronic stress, burnout, depression, and anxiety disorders. The prolonged exposure to stress hormones can affect mood, disrupt sleep, and impair cognitive functions, leading to a decreased quality of life. Moreover, this maladaptive stress response can have a negative impact on personal relationships and social interactions. When in a state of heightened stress, individuals may find it challenging to communicate effectively, show empathy, or maintain patience, which can strain personal and professional relationships. Understanding the nature of the modern stress response and its implications is crucial in managing stress effectively. Recognizing that many of today's stressors require cognitive solutions rather than physical action can help in adopting more appropriate and healthy responses. Techniques such as deep breathing, mindfulness, and cognitive behavioral strategies can be highly effective in retraining the body's response to stress, fostering a more balanced and healthy approach to modern day challenges. Human beings possess a remarkable and unique capability that distinguishes them in the animal kingdom: the ability to trigger stress responses purely through thought. Unlike other species that rely on direct physical stimuli to elicit a stress response, humans can conjure up stress through the power of the mind alone. This phenomenon occurs when we imagine potential future scenarios or dwell on past experiences. Intriguingly, the brain and body respond to these imagined or remembered events as if they were happening in real time, activating the same physiological stress mechanisms. When individuals fixate on negative thoughts, such as envisioning the worst possible outcomes of future events or ruminating over distressing past experiences, they inadvertently stimulate their stress response. This mental process sets off a cascade of physiological reactions. The heart rate quickens, muscles tense, breathing becomes shallow, and stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline flood the system. Essentially, the body is preparing to deal with a threat that exists only in the mind. The problem arises when this process becomes chronic. Continuously focusing on negative thoughts and worst case scenarios can lead to a perpetual state of stress, as the body is constantly on high alert for dangers that are not present in the immediate environment. This prolonged state of stress can have far reaching consequences on an individual's health and well being. Physically, chronic stress can weaken the immune system, making the body more susceptible to illnesses. It can exacerbate existing health conditions and increase the risk of developing new ones, such as hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, and digestive issues. The constant presence of stress hormones in the body can disrupt normal bodily functions and lead to long term damage. Mentally and emotionally, this ongoing state of stress can be just as damaging. It can lead to anxiety disorders, depression, mood swings, irritability, and a general decrease in emotional well being. Chronic stress can impair cognitive functions such as memory, concentration, and decision making. Over time, this can affect an individual's performance at work, their relationships, and their overall quality of life. Furthermore, living in a state of continuous stress can lead to unhealthy coping mechanisms. People may turn to overeating, alcohol, drugs, or other harmful behaviors as a way to manage their stress. These coping strategies can create additional problems, compounding the negative impact on health and well being. To combat this cycle, it's important to develop healthy ways to manage thoughts and reduce stress. This might include mindfulness practices, meditation, cognitive, behavioral therapy, or simply engaging in activities that bring joy and relaxation. Learning to control and redirect thoughts away from negative patterns can significantly reduce the impact of stress on the body and mind. Living in a perpetual state of stress, often termed as being in survival mode, has profound effects on the autonomic nervous system, the system responsible for controlling bodily functions that are not consciously directed. When this system is constantly engaged in responding to stress, it begins to default to a state characterized by heightened fear and anxiety. This chronic state of arousal can lead to various psychological and physiological conditions, including panic attacks, which are intense bouts of fear and discomfort that can have debilitating effects. The emotions commonly associated with long term stress, anger, frustration, depression, and even hopelessness, are not just psychological states. They are deeply interconnected with physical health. These emotions are triggered by the release of stress hormones, such as cortisol and adrenaline. While these hormones are vital for short term survival scenarios, their prolonged presence in the bloodstream can have detrimental effects on health. Continuous exposure to stress hormones can lead to a range of harmful outcomes. For one, it can disrupt the normal functioning of critical bodily systems. For example, chronic stress can impair the digestive system, leading to issues like ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, and indigestions. It can also interfere with the reproductive system, affecting fertility and menstrual cycles. The cardiovascular system is not immune either. Chronic stress can lead to hypertension, increased risk of heart attacks, and strokes. Mentally, the impact is just as severe. Prolonged stress can lead to cognitive impairments, such as difficulty concentrating, memory problems, and a decrease in decision making ability. Over time, this can affect an individual's performance at work or in their personal life, leading to a decline in overall productivity and satisfaction. Moreover, the body's immune system becomes compromised under constant stress. This weakened state leaves the body more susceptible to infections, illnesses, and chronic health conditions. Additionally, chronic stress can exacerbate pre existing health problems, making it harder for the body to recover and heal. The emotional toll of living in a constant state of stress can also lead to unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as substance abuse, alcoholism, overeating, or withdrawal from social interactions. These behaviors can create a vicious cycle, worsening the stress and its associated effects. To mitigate these risks, it's crucial to develop effective stress management techniques. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, a healthy diet, mindfulness practices, and seeking social support can all help in managing stress. In some cases, professional intervention may be necessary, particularly for individuals experiencing severe stress related disorders like panic attacks or clinical depression. Understanding the deep and significant impact of stress on both our physical and mental states underscores the critical need for effective stress management strategies. Recognizing how our thoughts and emotions can trigger stress responses is the first step towards developing a healthier approach to dealing with life's inevitable challenges. This understanding goes beyond mere awareness. It's about actively transforming our typical reactions to stress into more constructive responses. Managing stress effectively involves a fundamental shift in perspective. It's about reprogramming our habitual responses to stressors, moving away from instinctive reactions that may exacerbate stress towards responses that mitigate and manage it. This reprogramming requires conscious effort and practice, as it often involves unlearning deeply ingrained patterns of thinking and reacting. Cultivating positive thoughts and emotions plays a pivotal role in this process. Negative thinking patterns, such as catastrophizing or ruminating on worst case scenarios, can intensify stress and lead to a cycle of anxiety and worry. By consciously choosing to focus on positive thoughts and cultivating emotions like gratitude, optimism, and joy, we can counteract the effects of stress. This positive mental attitude helps in building resilience, an essential quality for coping with stress effectively. Additionally, adopting practices that promote relaxation is crucial in managing stress. Techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, yoga, and mindfulness have been shown to reduce stress levels significantly. These practices help calm the mind, reduce the production of stress hormones, and bring the body back to a state of balance. Regular engagement in these activities can lead to long term changes in how our bodies and minds respond to stress. Physical activity is another important aspect of stress management. Exercise not only improves physical health but also has a positive impact on our mental state. It can act as a natural stress reliever by releasing endorphins, the body's natural mood elevators. Even moderate physical activities, like walking or cycling, can be effective in reducing stress levels. Additionally, building a strong social support network is vital in managing stress. Sharing your concerns and experiences with friends, family, or a support group can provide emotional comfort and valuable perspectives. Sometimes just knowing that there is support can significantly alleviate stress. Nutrition also plays a role in how our bodies cope with stress. A balanced diet, rich in nutrients, can help fortify the body against the physical effects of stress. Avoiding excessive caffeine, alcohol, and sugar, which can exacerbate stress responses, is also a part of effective stress management. Understanding the significant impact of stress necessitates a proactive approach to managing it. This approach involves a shift in perspective, focusing on positive thoughts, engaging in relaxation practices, maintaining physical activity, building strong social connections, and following a balanced diet. By adopting these strategies, we can reprogram our responses to stress, leading to improved health, greater resilience, and enhanced overall well being.